And the worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. They crawl all over your dirty snout. And when your bones begin to rot, the worms remain, but you do not. Welcome to Tea and Toffees, a weekly visual VTuber podcast. I'm Neitshayd, hello, an undead demon that got stuck in the mortal world.
And hi, I'm Cecilia. I was a witch in my previous life, but now I'm not. Hi.
This episode and the next one are going to be a bit more chaotic, fitting for a show as chaotic as Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, or CAoS for short.
CAoS. Yeah, this show is total chaos. But
It really is.
Before we get into the show, I think we should once again start with the comic books, which I once again didn't read. Take it away.
You never do. You never do.
No, I never do.
All right. So, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina did not start with Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. It started with Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Sabrina, the character, had a debut in Archie's Madhouse in 1962, so way even before The Sandman now. She had several appearances afterwards and finally got her own comic series in 1971. Then there was the animated TV series from 1970, another one from 1999, and one from 2013. She received a live-action TV series from 1996, and 3 films from 1996, 1998, and 1999 respectively. Lots of numbers.
Yes, lots of numbers.
Yes, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina began in a different comic that was Afterlife with Archie, where Sabrina kind of started a zombie apocalypse, and Afterlife with Archie inspired the comic book series Chilling Adventures of Sabrina from 2014. The Netflix live-action series, the one we are talking about, is from 2018, ran for 2 seasons and 4 parts, and then got cancelled in 2022. There are 2 crossovers episodes in season 6 of Riverdale, which, Riverdale, so much wasted potential. And I'm still so angry what they did with Jughead. Jughead was supposed to be our aromantic, asexual representation. Like, come on, guys. Was that so hard to do? Anyway, so there was an announcement about a continuation of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina in the form of a comic book series, but I don't know what happened to that.
I don't know either, and the show didn't get cancelled in 2022 because that is too recent. I think I would remember it, maybe put it more in 2020.
Oh, did I say 2022? Oops.
Yes, you did. And I was like, that's last year. I remember it being before that.
My notes do say 2020. I misspoke.
I know. That's why I corrected you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to correct you other than, that sounds too recent.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I've read exactly one of those comics and seen exactly one of those TV shows. They're both titled Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Oh wait, that's incorrect. I've also read Afterlife with Archie. Because I got curious and I read a few Archie comic issues actually. Specifically about Jughead Jones, but they don't count in this case. And I didn't read the whole issues. So, yeah.
Well, as I said, I once again haven't read any of the comics. I did watch an animated series when I was younger. I don't know exactly which one. Might have been the, 2013? Maybe. I don't exactly remember. And then I watched the Netflix live action adaptation. And maybe I will one day read the comics as well. But probably not. So,
well, certainly not the Sabrina ones, because I do not think you would enjoy them. But some other comics maybe, or stuff we're talking about.
The Sandman comics.
Yeah, so you can finally say, hey, I read the comics for once. Not only Neitshayd did that.
Yeah. One day. Maybe. But okay, let's once again start with the comics, I would say.
Yes.
You are the comic expert.
I am. I don't know a whole lot more about Archie comics other than what most people know. Except for Cecilia, I suppose, who knows absolutely nothing.
You make it sound that I'm like the only person who doesn't know anything about the Archie comics.
In general, the Archie comics are about high school, about teenage drama, slice of life, normal people doing normal stuff, I guess, featuring Archie, the main character, and many others that the Riverdale watchers will be familiar with.
I haven't watched Riverdale, mostly because people who have watched it said, yeah, it turned out to be not really worth watching. So I'm not familiar with any of the characters. Sorry.
Yeah. In short, Archie comics are not superhero comics and not horror either. Sabrina the Teenage Witch is obviously a series about Sabrina, a half-witch from Greendale, living with her aunts Hilda and Zelda, and Salem, a witch that got turned into a cat as punishment for wanting to rule the world. Though, to be fair, Salem was originally not a talking cat in the comics, but got retconned after the TV show from 1996 gave him a new backstory as Salem Saberhagen. And there's Harvey, I guess. The series is about exactly what you would expect from the title, a teenage witch. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about the comics I've actually read. Afterlife with Archie and Chilling Adventures of Sabrina are horror comics. I'm actually not a fan of the horror genre overall, but I do enjoy some horror elements and good old gore, and I was curious about the comics when Netflix's CAoS Part 1 came out. Or actually, did I read the comics first or watch the TV show? I think I read the comics first. I'm not sure. Ah, well, anyway. So, Afterlife with Archie tells a zombie apocalypse story and doesn't have much to do with the Netflix show, but it is what CAoS is based on. Do you want me to give you an overview of Sabrina's role in Afterlife with Archie, Cecilia?
Well, you said she kind of started a zombie apocalypse. So did she dabble in necromancy like she did in the Netflix TV show?
Yes, she did.
Aye.
It starts with Jughead, of all people, asking Sabrina to revive his dead dog, named Hot Dog, by the way. And her aunts, Sabrina's aunts, Hilda and Zelda, they try, but since the dog is dead and not dying, they can't do anything. And then Sabrina, as usual, decides to do a no-no and steals the Necronomicon, which is an H.P. Lovecraft reference, by the way, and does some magic mojo, and then she's punished by her scary aunts for breaking the rules and sent into witch limbo.
Aye.
The dead dog comes back as a zombie, bites Jughead, and so the apocalypse begins. Very nicely drawn, by the way. Looks really awesome. And while the mortals are dealing with that, or failing rather, Sabrina finds herself not in limbo, but in a therapy session with a Dr. Lovecraft. Apparently her aunts died, witches don't exist, and her name is Sabrina Sawyer. And Dr. Lovecraft is definitely not an eldritch abomination trying to bring the old gods back or something. No. And Sabrina ends up being sacrificed as a bride to some old god / eldritch abomination thingy. I believe the series isn't actually finished, so who knows what will happen next.
I certainly don't.
Now, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, sort of a spin-off of Afterlife with Archie's. The stories are kind of connected, but also separate from each other. The CAoS comic is also not finished yet. It's basically horror, and ends up in a cliffhanger. Honestly, I did not enjoy the CAoS comic all that much. The story had some interesting elements, but never managed to captivate me. The characters' relationships were just not exciting at all. The romance between Sabrina and Harvey least of all, and I don't know. If I were to pick something I thought was good, there were cool horror scenes that looked pretty great, but that's about it.
But if you didn't like the CAoS comics overly much, then why did you decide to watch the TV show of the same name?
Because the trailer looked good.
Reason enough.
Yeah. I did not read Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Teenage Witch and don't know much about other adaptations, so I cannot say how much the Netflix TV show included on that front. As for the CAoS comic, they took some core elements and put a new and fun spin on it, part 1 anyway. You'd think that the show run by the same person that wrote the comic books it is based on would be a good adaptation.
Yes.
It is not. It is not. Whether that is a good or a bad thing in this case, I honestly can't say, actually. Because usually if you stay faithful to the original, that's a good thing. But in this case, it might be better that they didn't. I'm not sure. I think everyone has a different opinion on that, probably. There are so many differences between CAoS in comic form and TV show form, so why don't we pick some examples of what was and was not changed, not including characters' appearances?
I mean, you pick some examples because I can't. I haven't read the comics.
Obviously. So, it all starts with Edward Spellman, High Priest of the Church of Night, Satanic Warlock, marrying a mortal woman, Dyalla, and conceiving a daughter, Sabrina. So far, so good. Now, comic Dyalla does not want to be separated for her daughter. I think her daughter was intended for a sacrifice or something, maybe? I'm not sure. Anyway, Dyalla is not happy about whatever was planned for Sabrina and tries to flee with baby Sabrina, but she's immortal up against a coven of witches and ends up as a lunatic in a mental hospital thanks to her dearest husband. You know, shit happens.
Such a lovely happy ever after.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So Sabrina grows up with her aunts. It was sisters, Hilda and Zelda. Edward goes missing along the way, trapped in a tree or something. When Sabrina finds out he missed her birthday, she doesn't know he was trapped in a tree. She throws an epic tantrum, and her aunts are like, no telepathic temper tantrums in the house. That's what backyards are for. And there's a grumpy Salem with a slightly different backstory compared to Sabrina the Teenage Witch. The cat form is still a punishment. And also, no one tells lies about dear Sabrina or they will face Big Spider Hilda. That's a thing in the comics. I know exactly where they took that from when the pagans came in the TV show.
I was wondering about that.
Yes, they eventually end up moving to Greendale into a vacant funeral home. And cousin Ambrose moves in with them. And Sabrina's hair turns white and sounds vaguely familiar, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes, it does.
So then there's Betty and Veronica, girls from Riverdale. The town. Also the TV show, but I mean the town. They are now apparently witches, and they manage to accidentally summon Madame Satan, who looks horrifying. She has little skulls for eyes, and a gaping hole for a nose, and lipstick painted on lipless teeth. It's quite lovely.
I would
but
disagree.
Then she's... I say it's quite lovely. She looks amazing.
I haven't seen her, but from the description I would say, does not sound lovely. Sounds cool, but not lovely.
You did actually see her for a very brief moment in the TV show like that.
Yes, I know. And that looked cool, but not lovely.
Yes, lovely. Anyway, she does steal a normal face from a pretty mortal. It's like, yeah, this is a pretty woman. I'll steal your face now. Madame Satan is Edward's ex-lover. She was not amused about Edward's marriage to Dyalla. She murders a bunch of people, eventually winds up in Greendale, and poses as a teacher. Is actually also quite similar to the TV show, except that Lilith from the TV show is not Edward's ex-lover. So in the comics, Sabrina's baptism is on the first full moon after his 16th birthday, which happens to be a blood moon on Samhain, which is Halloween for those who don't know. This one's the same for both versions, again, I believe. And the Netflix show has way less graphic horror overall. Like, the witch's true forms and Madame Satan's appearance are only implied or shown very briefly, and certain themes were toned down or not included at all.
So you're saying they made it more mainstream?
Yes. Anyway. Yeah, so there was a scene in Part 1, Episode 2 with the Weird Sisters that came close to depicting the comic witch forms. And like I already said, Madame Satan gives us a glimpse of her comic horror face in Part 1, Episode 10. And yeah, like I also already said, Madame Satan is not revealed to be Lilith in the comic shows. it could still happen, but as far as we've seen, it's like highly unlikely. She was an ordinary witch before everything with Edward went down, and then shit happened. You know, Ambrose has 2 cobra snakes as familiars that, much like the original Salem, were once humans in the comic.
And now that would have been cool to see in the Netflix adaptation. But
Yes.
I guess they'll just cut it out. But snakes. Give us snakes.
Also, Salem. What happened to my grumpy, sassy, cynic, I broke witch laws and now I have to be cat for 100 years Salem? What happened?
What happened is that Salem is just a cute cat with a cute meow who wants to help Sabrina and is most likely pretty exasperated with her. That's what happened.
Yeah. Moving on. The Weird Sisters are not technically a new addition to the TV show, but they certainly play a bigger role compared to the comics. There is no Witch Academy in the comics. At least I don't think there is. There's definitely no, my purpose is to make a love triangle, Nick.
Well, all I can say to that is mainstream. Of course we need a love triangle. I would very much have liked to attend a Witch Academy, but why is there none in the comics? There needs to be a Witch Academy. Witch Academies are cool. But without my powers, I can't exactly attend an academy, even if there were witch academies around. And also, there was no letter that showed up on my 11th birthday, and nobody told me, you're a witch, Cecilia. Anyway, moving on. And yes, Toffee, darling, it's not yet time for your dinner. No, don't eat that. No, that's mine.
She trying to eat the cake?
Yes, she's trying to eat the cake.
No letter on your birthday? No one to tell you, yeah, Lizard Airy? No?
No.
Oh.
No.
You're a big Ross. Yeah, Ross is not a big in the show. Did Theo even exist in the comic? I believe not. Probably not. And the entire feminism campaign wasn't featured in the comics, and we are not going to talk about the portrayal of that hot potato. No.
Oh. Now I want a nice hot potato with sour cream or something. Aye.
We don't have any, unfortunately. We only have cake.
Good enough.
So, Comic Harvey, CAoS Comic Harvey, is a jock, an American football player, and he is killed, alias eaten, by witches during Sabrina's dark baptism. And the one who comes back after some forbidden witchy necromancy is not Harvey. Sabrina, do not kiss him. Do not kiss him. That is not Harvey. No.
Hey.
Sabrina, no. The show's version is obviously more nerdy, and Sabrina also never put that one under love spell. And I actually prefer this one. He has more character depth, even if I don't like the romance thing in either version.
And wasn't Harvey's brother Tommy? Was he also around in the comics? Or did they just put him in the Netflix show so that he could die in Harvey's place? Because of course we can't have the protagonist's love interest die.
I do not remember Harvey having a brother in the comics. Don't know for sure though. I suppose the whole necromancy has consequences part wouldn't have worked out had they killed Harvey. And Harvey offing his own brother in the end was a big message for Sabrina.
Well, that she promptly forgot about a few episodes later.
That she did, yes. Happens a lot.
Yes.
Also, Sabrina's parents have a completely different backstory. Edwin Spellman is a very disturbed piece of shit. Madame Satan has an entirely different backstory and therefore also different motivations, being Edward's ex-lover and all. Shit happens, people die. Turns out it was Hilda and Zelda who bound Edward to the tree because he was lying to the coven, using some kind of illusion to pretend he could summon Lord Satan at will, and that Satan condoned every decision Edward made. The comics don't actually contain all that much material for the show to cover, despite how much I talked about them just now. So it's not a surprise they deviated so much plot-wise and went off in their own direction. Yeah, there's too much stuff. Let's move on.
TV show.
TV show. So the intro was done in the style of the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina comic. Characters whose appearances were changed, like Ross and Ambrose, were redone, but most of the other scenes look like they were actually taken directly from the comics. And we got a little Sabrina the Teenage Witch cameo as well. I think the intro was actually done by the comic's original artist, who is, I believe, the showrunner, and we're not talking about him.
And I skipped the intro most of the time because after watching it a few times, it got boring a bit. But it was a nice intro, but just got boring. I watched it too often.
I don't remember what I did during the original viewing when I watched it first. I did skip it when I rewatched it, but I skipped a lot of parts when I rewatched it, so...
Well, I rewatched it, skipped the intro, didn't really skip any parts in between, and original viewing... did we watch the last parts together or not?
I don't think so.
Don't think so.
No.
Knowing me, I probably started skipping the intro at part 3 or 4. I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah. I really love Sabrina's look in this show. The actress is really pretty and the costume design is amazing. Nothing and no one can beat Prudence when it comes to style, though. Like, damn, girl.
Her outfit when she has the twin swords and wants to hunt down her father. Like, hot damn. Wow.
Yes. The costumes in general look really good.
Yes, except the coronation outfit Sabrina wears at the end of part 3. The wig and the collar thingy, I don't know what it's called. They're ugly. Good costumes, I suppose, but ugly.
It's meant to make her look like Elizabeth I, I think. Maybe there was a meaning behind the choice that was lost on all of us, but...
It's still ugly, and pronunciation. Nah, can't pronounce this. She wasn't even the first Queen of England. That was her sister that we remember as Bloody Mary. But we only remember her like this because her half-sister Elizabeth was a bit...
I will just agree, even if I don't know anything about that, but...
Yes.
Human history is not my thing.
I can tell you a bit more about it later, if you want to.
So, part 1, episode 1, the pilot episode, is kind of weird and kind of quirky, and I'm not sure whether that's the best introduction to this show, but whatever. Okay, no, I did not need to see kissing before the first 10 minutes of episode 1 were up. No. No. I love necromancy, though. The modern version of it, anyway. We'll get back to that later. I love the Aunts, especially Zelda. Love the casting, too, for all Spellmans, really, and most other characters. Zelda and Zelda could actually be you and me, Cecilia.
For the most part. Yes, they could be you and me. But you don't smoke. And but if you did, I could totally see you having a holder for the cigarette like Zelda does. That looks more dignified.
And prevents stained fingers. Also, there's this part where Zelda goes, "She annoyed me, so I killed her and buried her in the backyard." Like, Auntie, you're awesome.
And there's that too. Because if I would ever annoy you to the point that you would kill me, which is already highly unlikely.
Usually I'm the one annoying you and not the other way around.
Yes. But you would draw a magical array or something along those lines and bring me back as an undead or something. And you would do it to perfection and no one would ever notice a thing, so I can continue to work and earn money for you to leech off.
And once you're undead, I can kill you as many times as I want to, because you can't die anymore. No cane pit necessary.
Yeah.
Also, if you're undead, I think it would be easier to run your crime syndicate.
I don't run a crime syndicate. I don't know where you got that idea from, but no.
Sure you do. Sure you do. You do run one. You can't fool me. I know exactly what you do for money.
No. Why would I run a crime syndicate? That's work. Too much work. Do you know how much work that would be?
No.
I mean, I don't know either, but I imagine that would be a lot of work. You have to keep all your goonies in line. Hard work. No. Don't want to do that. Too much work.
If you say so.
Yes.
Back to the show. So, does Salem have any importance at all post episode 1? Do we even see the golem form ever again? Where, oh where, is my cynic I hate being a cat Salem? The talking cat would have added so much to the show. And alright, Sabrina's actress is allergic to cats, and CAoS didn't have the biggest budget, but they could still have found a way to work with what they had that didn't turn Salem into Ambrose's pet cat.
But I still love that cute and cuddly cat. But yeah, they really missed out on that one. Talking cat would have been so cool.
One of the few characters I enjoyed was Dorian Gray. He was an interesting character, which might or might not have been due to him being not an original Chilling Adventures of Sabrina character. For those who don't know, look up The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. He also plays a side role that never gets assigned any important relevance, rather than, you know, the people behind the show actually creating a well-written character with a complex personality. But, dear Dorian, you should not keep a dead mouse in your trash for a week. That's disgusting. Even if it was a familiar. But that, the smell alone. Dorian also did not get the death he deserved for his greatness. Poor Dorian.
Yeah, how could the uninvited just kill our pretty immortal bartender? It's like, why? Why did he have to do that? He deserved better. But also a well-written character with a complex personality would be expecting a bit too much of a show like this. As you said, they didn't have that much of a budget.
No, well, no, wait. Actually, that's money is not the issue. You can write a character in a good way regardless. You don't need money to write well-written characters.
Well,
you really don't.
You need money to hire a good script writer who can do that.
No, the showrunner... We're not talking about that.
Okay. But they did mention Neil Gaiman and that he would have written better characters, I suppose. But does that count as breaking the fourth wall if they mentioned Neil?
Yes, and they did? When?
Yes, they did. It was that episode 2? We mentioned the Cane Pit earlier, which is also most likely a direct reference to the Sandman comics, because they mention Neil Gaiman in the exact same episode where we see the Cane Pit. It's when Harvey and Ambrose talk with each other, and I think it was Ambrose who's like, yes, he's one of my favorite comic book authors, and he mentioned 2 other people who are probably important, but since I don't really read comics, I don't know who they are. But yeah, they mentioned Neil Gaiman in that episode. Episode 2.
I can't believe I missed that. Oh my gosh, I missed that. Look at me. I missed something. I missed my favorite author being mentioned. I'm terrible. I'm gonna get an identity crisis now. Moving on.
Please don't.
Moving on.
Yes. Nom, nom, nom. What else could we talk about? There's the canteen at the academy only serve one dish. Like, what about allergies and vegetarians? Well, I guess no vegetarians, because cannibalism is apparently a tradition, but still, not everyone likes everything, you know? You should have a small selection in the canteen.
I never paid attention to the meals they're serving at the canteen. So I don't know.
Maybe they just did it so that it would be cheaper to produce. could also be the case. And they probably just didn't care, because why would they care? And also, why does a witch's pregnancy last 13 months instead of 9? I don't.
Because they age at a slower rate.
Okay, just gonna accept that. Another random thing, I got the X-Men reference Harvey makes at one point. Because Neitshayd forced me, or not forced me, convinced me to watch the movies twice.
It was a good decision. And you agreed to watch them a second time.
Yes, I did.
But yeah, Phoenix Force, that the one they had absolutely had to redo in this X-Men cinematic universe post time travel shenanigans. Harvey makes a reference to that. Which, yeah, sure. Why not?
Why not?
I have a tidbit.
Yes.
Can everyone in this show sing? Makes me jealous. I wish I could sing like that.
Yes, they can all sing and dance because that is so very realistic, you know? Sabrina and her friends even form a band, and her and was do all the cheerleading thing as well for a while, and they are obviously very good at it instantly, because that is also very realistic and all very American and mainstream.
Sabrina doesn't even attend the high school regularly. It just doesn't make sense for her to do the cheerleading.
Yeah, I can do neither cheerleading nor singing. And since my singing is worse than yours and I can't dance at all, I would like to move on. Let's talk about some characters in the show. And who better to start with than our lovely protagonist, the bloody Gryffindor. Annoying Gryffindor. Nah.
Getting some structure in here, or not getting any structure at all. First question. Why would Sabrina, being a half-mortal, make her more powerful than other witches? In Harry Potter, there was a point to be made about inbreeding, at least, somewhere in that hot mess anyway. But that's not something that ever comes up in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, so I'm assuming it's not the case. And, alright, the show later explains that Sabrina is actually the daughter of the devil, and therefore the Antichrist. But that's not the case in either Sabrina the Teenage Witch or the CAoS original comic. Now I'm wondering whether Sabrina being half-mortal made her more powerful in Sabrina the Teenage Witch too, or if that's a CAoS thing. Comic and show, because she's also more powerful in the comic. But, yeah. On that note, why do we rarely ever get half-breeds that aren't half-human? Why humans? Humans are so boring. Maybe it's because humans are stuck. They're sleeping around so much.
Hey. Well, I don't see the sense in her being more powerful either, when half of her is literally just mundane, mortal human being. Since we've never given a proper explanation, I will just have to assume that humans are so full of themselves that they make the half-humans more powerful just because they can, to make themselves feel better about themselves, because they feel powerless and are full of insecurities. That probably applies to the why are there only half-human, half-breeds, because why would humans want to see other half-breeds? They're humans.
Because it would be cool. It would be cool to see other half-breeds that do not have a human half.
Yes, it would be cool, but I suppose that's another human thing. Humans. I'm human, but I still don't get it. Hey. Okay, Sabrina. Sabrina is a typical teenager when we are first introduced to her. She spends time with her friends, she wants to protect her friends, and she also wants to stand up for the things she is right with all her teenage naivety. Nice, sister. And the problems from hiding her witch side, yeah, they are, of course, they are also there. And it's like, okay, yes, the truth can be a cleansing fire, as we learned in Sandman. But some things should stay hidden, even if it's hard. It's like, honestly, do you really think it is a good idea to tell your friends that you are half witch?
Is that your favorite quote now?
Maybe. I don't actually know. I just like the quote. We'll have to see in future episodes if I forget about the quote or not. And if I don't forget, then maybe it is gonna be my new favorite quote. We will have to wait and see. And yes, giving up on your friends is hard when she has to like go to the witch academy now. But can't you like find new friends in the Academy of Unseen Arts? No? Witch powers are so cool. Why would she want to give that up for the shitty human world?
Because love, I guess.
She wants to have freedom and she wants to have power. And I'm just like, you can't have both because that's just not how the world works. But I can at least see that it's a hard choice. But she also thinks that she's above everything, above the law. And yes, of course, witch law and mortal law only apply when it suits her. She's a bit full of herself. Nice.
Yes. Yes, she is. Even when she is put on trial for not signing her name in the Book of the Beast in Part 1, Episode 3. Sabrina is also put on trial in the comics. I don't remember the reason though. And the trial is, well, she has to do some, well, trials within the trial, you could say, some tests to prove that she is innocent. And it's like stabbing some special artifact through your hand and stuff like that. And Madame Satan helps her, and she has Betty and Veronica, the Riverdale witches, take the injuries in Sabrina's stead to make Sabrina appear as innocent of all charges.
Oh, because she is so innocent of everything that happens. Hey.
Totally.
Yeah. She also she basically just thinks herself to be all powerful because she also did the necromancy thing, and you are not a necromancer, Sabrina. Do you even have a clue about what you're doing and what possible repercussions could come from it? She probably doesn't. It's gonna be just fine, right? It's all gonna be just fine. She never really thinks things through. She's just a reckless, bloody, annoying Gryffindor. And she puts the people around her in danger. And we never actually see true consequences to any of her actions. She gets to do whatever she wants, and everyone else just supports her. And I'm watching this thinking, there's always a price to pay, darling. But apparently not for Sabrina. And that's just terrible writing, in my opinion.
Yeah, so the necromance, we are specifically talking about the one from Part 1, Episode 8, where she resurrects Tommy, because there is some minor necromancy stuff in between and after and everywhere. Let me put this little quote here. Aunt Hilda says at one point that their backyard graveyard thingy it has soil from Cain's garden soaked in Abel's blood. Very interesting piece of information, considering the story of Cain and Abel, which we will come back to next episode in regards to world building.
Yes.
But yeah, necromancy. Technically, necromancy is dead body divination, alias divination using the dead by summoning their spirits, for example. But it has been adapted to encompass all kinds of death magics, like zombie creation and general resurrection in recent years. Bringing Harvey back in the comics, that I get because like he was the love of her life or whatever, but Tommy? Sabrina didn't even know it was Dorcas and Agatha's doing at the time when she did the resurrection. And then she tries to circumvent the rules by bringing Agatha... No, wait. Sabrina knows that by the time she resurrects Tommy, but she plans the resurrection even before she realizes who did it, who killed him. Anyway. And then she tries to circumvent the rules by bringing Agatha back, and yeah. Side note, there's a scene where Dorcas eats the turnip Agatha coughed up, which I find very funny. I would not eat that, but you do you, Dorcas.
You do you.
Also, yeah, how come every adult just dismisses Agatha and Dorcas interfering with the mortals? Like, sure, murder and cannibalism is perfectly normal witch behavior, but the church is so intent on staying off the radar and to not interfere with mortals' lives. And I understand that Sabrina's transgression is much worse in the eyes of the witches and, gosh, 16-year-old teenage witch, half-witch, thinking she knows better than all these adult witches with their hundreds of years of experience that she doesn't have. Anyway, the whole shit show was good setup for some nice character development, but Sabrina never learns from her mistakes. Also, did the show temporarily forget during part 1 that Sabrina still hasn't signed her name in the Book of the Beast at this point? This should technically interfere with her powers.
Yes, they did forget. I mean, I don't actually know if they forgot, but it's just like, yeah, we are not gonna explore that any further, and just, if you notice, yeah, that is just the way it is. They ignored it.
Yeah. But yeah, Sabrina, just like you said, she thinks she's right, she's all powerful, she can do no wrong, she can do whatever she wants. Everything will go fine, even without a plan. Like when the angels came in part 2, what was Sabrina thinking going into that church to face the angels? She had no plan. Sabrina, the overpowered teenage half-witch that needs to neither obey rules nor fear consequences. Oh, they're going to kill me. It will be fine. Totally fine.
It's gonna be just fine. She didn't think at all when she went into that church. Yeah, no.
It's the problem I have with Sabrina as a character is not that she is incredibly selfish, arrogant, entitled, and thinks she's better than everyone. Thinks she does not need anyone's consent, even if whatever she is doing will impact their lives directly and can get away with cheating the laws of the world. The problem I have with Sabrina is that she gets away with it, and even though other characters point out her flaws to her, those scenes almost always get pushed to the side, lose importance in comparison to all else that is happening, drowning underneath all the chaos that Sabrina brought about by breaking yet another rule. The show doesn't utilize her flaws properly beyond all. Yet they are basing all their ridiculous little nonsense plots on this aspect of her, that she's such a flawed character. But there are never any real consequences that impact Sabrina's life in a meaningful and lasting way. Even the whole resurrected zombie Tommy debacle is forgotten soon after its half-baked resolution. There is no character arc whatsoever, no growth, no change in either direction, good or bad. No, instead Sabrina gets to play hero, and the people around her adapt, having no agency of their own apparently, aside from occasionally lecturing Sabrina about her mistakes and then moving on to enabling her to get away with it anyway. All the other characters serve her, having no purpose on their own, like, don't even get me started on Nicholas Scratch. I swear to Satan. This guy. So, basically, he is Sabrina's love interest, which from a rich side. No more on that.
But he's the bad boy love interest. We need a nerdy love interest and a bad boy love interest, don't we?
No. No. So, yeah, Harvey is Sabrina's mortal nerd love interest. Ross is her token black friend. Yes, that is racist. The show does not do a very good job on not being racist. Not with Ross anyway. Theo is the token trans character. Empress is the exposition dump character.
And basically it's just all for Sabrina. All hail her ladyship, Sabrina.
Basically, yes. Even Sabrina's death at the end of part 4 is just another way of letting her get away with everything instead of making her live with the consequences.
Because why would we make her live with the consequences of her own actions?
Why indeed? Let's name a few examples. She refuses to sign the Book of the Beast, which should have had more consequences, like an actual impact on her witchcraft. And it is not her deciding between her mortal and her witch side. Well, she does. Sorry, what did I want to say? Yeah, she doesn't want to decide which side to choose.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to choose a side.
She wants freedom.
She does not want to choose a side. And she, instead of choosing a side, instead of being forced to choose a side, she gets both. She gets away with enjoying both worlds for a whole season before she does eventually sign, and then she still gets to enjoy both sides.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. Oh yeah, deciding not to choose between her mortal and witch life. And she still attends her high school and the Witches Academy. And she does attend the high school, but only whenever she wants to. And while I can see the Witches Academy being indifferent, they have too much on their plate anyway to care about that. But the human high school, yeah, I doubt she's ever bothered to catch up on what she's missing, what she keeps missing. There are obvious issues with this, but the show ignores the entire problem.
Now, why would she ever catch up with schoolwork at the mortal high school? She would only need it if she wanted to stay in the mortal world, which she very clearly does want. But she is above everything. She does not need to attend her mortal high school and study like all the other people and catch up on the work she misses. It's like, no, why would she need to do that? She's the protagonist and she is all powerful. We can just ignore the fact, can't we?
Yes. Also going for top boy, despite not having attended the academy for long. She is not a committed student and has no use for the position anyway, but she's like, yeah, I want this.
And why does Sabrina even think that she is qualified for the position of top boy? Or maybe you should say top person? Yeah, no need for gendering. Well, yes, her mortal life gives her a different perspective and stuff, but shouldn't she maybe attend the academy for a year or so just to learn the workings of the school better and be more familiar with what the task would entail if she were to become the top boy, top girl, whatever, and like take time to decide what specifically she wants to change, because change is in most cases slow, and you need to be like, okay, I specifically want to change this, because Sabrina has very high expectations and is like, yeah, I don't think you can implement everything that you would like to change in the short span of time you would attend the academy. Me is just assuming here that the Witch Academy is similar to high school and is like a few years. So in a few years, you can't turn the entire academy upside down just by being the top person. But she once again just runs head first into something she knows next to nothing about. Nice.
All for a position of power she has no need for.
Exactly.
Another example. Tommy Kinkle. Need I say more? No. Next. Trapping the Dark Lord only to practically free him again just because she wants her boyfriend back. The same boyfriend who was acting on the Dark Lord's orders the whole time.
And did she really think going to hell to bring her boyfriend back was a good idea? She barely managed to capture the Dark Lord by trapping him inside of Nick. And will she invent something else to trap him? Or, I mean, the configuration from her not father didn't work. And this is just plain idiotic, because, like, do you plan on finding another person who is powerful enough and also willing to trap the Dark Lord? It's highly unlikely that you would find a person like this. And the transfer would also be highly dangerous. But yeah, let's just put everyone in mortal danger because I want my boyfriend back. And once again, I'm not thinking things through, because why would I do that? I'm all powerful.
Well, they did find someone else in Father Blackwood. He was even willing, though they didn't know that.
Yeah, I suppose you're right, but At least with this whole debacle with the Dark Lord and Nick, we get a prime example of how some people deal with trauma. Because Nick is just like, okay, yeah, after effects of wrestling with Lucifer for dominance for months, while also being humiliated by Lilith at the same time. Pretty traumatic, wouldn't you say? And how does he solve it? Well, he does alcohol, drugs, and sex. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't do that. That's not gonna make it any better, buddy, you know? My advice would be go to therapy, even if it's hard for you to accept the help at first. Go to therapy. That would help. Also, Sabrina also goes to therapy.
Well, falling back to unhealthy coping mechanisms like drugs seems pretty realistic, especially considering how the show portrays witch culture. Witches don't have therapists. They don't need it. They have the Dark Lord. Or had. Whoops.
Whoopsie. But at least Nick comes to terms with his feelings and thoughts after some time. I guess that's good. And I'm glad that he wants to take some time for himself to just think things through for once, which Sabrina just doesn't do. And Sabrina's also just like, yeah, I'm going to dismiss all of your concerns. Isn't that a lovely girlfriend? She is just like, yeah, I don't care what you feel and think. She really could have been more supportive. She's not a supportive girlfriend. No.
No, she's selfish. Yeah, poor Nick, having PTSD and no one support him. Sorry, Sabrina, your cheat codes won't work in this case. You can't just pretend everything will be magically fine again and move on. This could have been the one thing she didn't get away with, but then Nick drowns himself for her just for her at the end. So all that undone again.
All hail her ladyship, Sabrina.
Next example of Sabrina getting away with everything, declaring herself Queen of Hell, which was exactly what she didn't want to be and led to the whole Nick and Hell thing. And then refusing to do what is required of her as Queen of Hell, like damning souls. Instead, becoming a cheerleader and going on dates. She doesn't even make good of her declaration of giving Hell a makeover in the end.
No, she really didn't.
And then she creates a time paradox to get both sides instead of committing herself to one. Again,
nice.
Her half witch, half mortal life, and her infernal life as Queen of Hell on the other side.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm at least glad that someone was freaking out about the whole time paradox thingy. Thank you, Ambrose. Thank you for that. Because that's the sensible thing to do. But why would the characters in this show do the sensible thing and freak out about the time paradox?
To be fair, no one else knows about it at the time.
Fair.
Yeah. Sabrina also runs for student council president of a mortal school she only attends whenever she feels like it, while the threat of the Eldritch terrors is still looming over them. She basically gets away with everything, and any consequences she has to face, if there are any, are quickly forgotten. There is no character development, no arc that culminates in her becoming a better person or fully embracing the darkness inside of her or anything, really.
So, her character basically doesn't change. But there is a character who changes quite a bit. Want to talk about the devil? About Lucifer? Okay.
Why is Satan a goat?
Because Menadiel told a joke once and it stuck, and angels self-actualize?
Wrong universe, unfortunately. Why is this world Satan, as in the one you and I are stuck in, presented as a goat? And you know what? I'll answer that myself, because I got curious and fell down a rabbit hole. Why is Satan a goat? Because history. I won't bore you with too many details. It's not like history agrees on how it came to be anyway. But I want to mention the word Baphomet. Baphomet? I don't even know how to pronounce it. Also known as the sabbatical goat, though it did not originate as such and was also not initially associated with Satan. On another note, whether Lucifer and Satan are two different entities or one and the same depends on the source and changed a few times over the course of history. Paradise Lost is certainly a piece of literature that played a big role there. I talked about Lucifer's name origin from the Bible for a bit in our previous episode. I think I should mention here that there's some dispute about Lucifer's role in the Bible, on whether he actually appears or not, and whether he is Satan or not, and other occupants from hell, and more confusing stuff, and let's leave it at that. I'm not an expert on the Bible, and don't intend to be, and history is complicated and confusing, and there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff. Humans are really weird. Sorry. Interesting that Aunt Hilda calls Sabrina a lamb, in part 1 at least. Where goats seem to have a bad reputation in the Bible, sheep and lambs are innocent little, sheep. So that's an interesting tidbit that a satanic witch would call her niece a lamb. But yeah. We talked about Satan being a character that changes, unlike Sabrina.
Mhm.
In season 1, so parts 1 and 2, before he comes back in his not goat form, Satan is this powerful, menacing, truly evil, almost mysterious villain that barely appears. Lucifer, once you see him as a proper character, is kind of lame. I don't know whether it is the actor, or the script writing, or both, or neither, or whatever. Lucifer is just not menacing at all. He's more like a petty, whiny wannabe villain that reminds me of Gilderoy Lockhart for some reason, and not at all what the show is trying to make him out to be. Mago, the maniac villain turned mediocre joke. That's what he is.
Yeah. We also kind of have the name debacle again. It's like, I am Lucifer. Once I was called Morningstar. And I watched that and thought to myself, isn't that kind of the same? Lucifer means morning star, you dumbass. Don't you know your own names?
Technically it doesn't, not literally. But yeah.
Whatever. With the Lucifer from the TV show of the same name, I can see him running with the Lucifer Morningstar just as a joke. But this one, like from the way they portrayed him, I get the impression that he could also just be ignorant to the fact that the name have a similar meaning, because, as you said, the Dark Lord went from scary being that one should not offend to a background character no one has to really worry about.
Yeah, the Morningstar last name is also probably an invention by Neil Gaiman and not actually a historical thing. Yet. Neil is still alive and well, thankfully. And several centuries have not yet come to pass since he invented the name. For a more in-depth analysis of Lucifer's name and why it kind of but technically doesn't mean morning star, refer to episode 3 of our podcast. But this might be a bit of a shorter episode. Guys, that's it for this week's episode. Next time, we'll get more into LGBT plus representation, world building, and the Eldritch Terrors.
So, yeah, in the meantime, you can find us on Twitter at @TNToffies, and for the YouTube watchers, we are also on Spotify.
Or if you're listening to this on Spotify, we're also on YouTube at TNToffies.
We hope you enjoyed this a bit shorter episode. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell.
You know the drill, and we will see you next week. Bye!
Bye.